Okay, could you introduce yourself?
Dominic Beck, postal.
And what's happening here today at the Unilever House?
It's a protest to Adam Crozier to get round the table with our league negotiators, discuss a national agreement on moving our business forward. We're all for moving the business forward, but we want to negotiate. That's why we've got a national union. Unfortunately, they don't want us to negotiate certain things with us, but they only want to discuss things with us, i.e. tell us what's going to happen.
Right, so it's the difference between discussions, where you're being told what's going to happen, and negotiations, where both sides are having a
and I mean, if you look at our record over the past, certainly over the past 5 or 6 years, we've sat down with them in the past, negotiated with them, again, the correct procedure to follow, and we've got deals that have moved us forward and has modernised our industry tremendously. My own office has lost over 15, 16 jobs in the last 2 or 3 years, and it's only a small delivery office. So I can't see how they can say we don't modernise, but we'll only modernise when our lead negotiators, people that we've elected into position to do our negotiating for us, get up there and actually talk to them properly. But at the moment, they're just fobbing us off.
I was down the picket line at the big 9 Elm site this morning, and the results are extremely solid in the 2 out of 3 sections that were on strike. I think it's something like 2 out of 57 went in on one of the district sorting officers and 3 out of 270 in the other one, so it's a really solid strike. Unfortunately, the big mail distribution centre wasn't on strike because of balloting irregularities. What's your feeling about the way that's been handled?
To be honest with you, I'm not that bothered about it. There's no deliveries going out in London today. That's the biggest impact. Yes, I would like to have seen them join us, but my understanding is they're being reballoted anyway.
On Monday,
yeah. So when they get reballoted, I'm pretty certain that they're going to turn a 9-1 vote again like they did last time. And the truth is, the irregularities, I believe, were on numbers for offices, and the numbers wouldn't have actually made a difference to the outcome of the vote. The vote would have still been strongly in favour of industrial action. So it's a slight setback, perhaps, but I'm not too bothered. Hopefully, we need them to come out. Hopefully, they will listen to our protest today, and they will actually resolve it. But if not, then I'm sure that they will vote yes in the next industrial action, and I'm sure that they will be joining us in the next any industrial action that we name.
Good. The RMT had problems last week with the bosses in Aslife HQ writing a letter to their members telling them to cross RMT picket lines. How are your relations with other unions that organise within the post?
Well, as far as I'm aware, we are the only union that really organises within it, other than the managers' one, the CMA, which I think comes under Amicus, I'm not sure. And to be perfectly honest with you, they're more of a staff association than a trade union. Because
cheap insurance and holidays and stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, let's be honest, they're not going to come out and support us, so I'm not too worried about them. As for any others, I'm not aware of, certainly not in my branch, of any other unions that cross over on our side.
So strike today's happening in London and in Scotland, or one city in Scotland.
I think it's Scotland and tomorrow, I think.
Right.
I'm not sure.
What's the reason, would you say, why it's bubbled up in those 2 particular places?
I think it's the system that they're trying to use, certainly in London. I couldn't speak for Scotland itself, but I could imagine it might be the same sort of argument. It's trying to use a geo-route system, which is you put all the information into a computer system, tells you how many walks and duties come out the other end. Basically, and
computer says no.
Exactly, and the problem you've got is that the makeup of London is vastly different from suburbs. Where, it may well work for a suburb. Plus, we usually negotiate, again, it comes back to this word negotiate, we normally negotiate how things are done, how things are worked through, the process we follow. And we're getting no input whatsoever into the key elements of the geo-route system. We want our national officers, I believe Bob Gibson, Dave Ward, Martin Collins, all those people, they've all asked to have input into this and to have an agreement on it. And so far, business has said no, not interested. All right, we'll talk about other things, but we're not going to talk about that. Well, that's the key element. Because once you put all the information into the system and it chews it through, if we've got no input in the middle bit, then we're not going to be happy with the outcome. And that's why you've got these sorts of rows coming up. They're talking about taking 35% in some offices of jobs. out of a delivery office. Now, the public probably aren't best pleased with the post office at the moment. Bear in mind, it isn't the postmen that have made these changes. It's not the postmen that have gone from 2 deliveries down to 1 delivery. Yes, we had an agreement on it, but it was because we were forced into an agreement, basically. Right? The fact is, we can provide a good service, we want to provide a good service, but with 35% job cuts in an office, taking 35 people out of a 100-man office, that's what it equates to. How on earth are you going to run with that?
Yeah.
You just cannot run with it.
Slash the workforce by a third, then you're not going to get as good a service, are you?
And they're saying, well, we've got technology coming in. Well, when the technology's there and it's running, then fine, you can make the cuts. You can't make the cuts first and then bring the technology again along later, because for the interim period, you're going to have a time where...
A crap service gap.
Basically, yeah. And we don't want to provide that. The postman sees you every day, he wants to provide a good service. Unfortunately, he's not being allowed to.
Now, the other thing that's big news today is that there's 900 folks been fired up in Lincolnshire for the wildcat strikes they've been taking in at a construction site and a Total Oil refinery, and there's a good chance that those strikes are going to spread far and wide according to the news reports. We also heard that the strike support group on Monday night that at least 7 colleges and further education institutes in London are bouncing for strike action over cuts that they're facing in jobs and attacks on pay. Do you think there's a fair chance that this is going to be a summer of rage from the union's point of view?
To be honest with you, I hope not. I mean, it might not be the thing that people want to hear me say, certainly militants don't want to hear me say, which business might, but I hope they don't. I hope people see sense and start talking to these people. You know, nobody, I don't want to be losing money today, okay, I really don't. I can ill afford it, I don't want to be it. But by the same token, I want to have a full-time job in 6 months' time. I want to see what my future is going to be like in the not too distant future. At this moment, I don't see any way out of this other than taking this sort of action, because the business is not allowing me to. And if that's the same in other businesses across the country, then unfortunately that is what's going to happen. I hope that it doesn't. I really don't. I don't want us to be on strike. I don't want people losing money anywhere. I don't want people being made redundant. If you talk to people, if you negotiate things, then it doesn't have to happen. But if you're going to sit there in an ivory tower and pretend that nothing's going on, bury your head in the sand, let's run with it, well then unfortunately you probably are going to get a backlash off the people, because I think people are now getting sick of it, especially when you're seeing money going here, there and everywhere, but the people that are actually running the country, the workforce, are seeing none of it.
Yep. Huge spending on the war in Afghanistan and in trident replacement and all sorts, and bailing out the banks, of course, but peanuts for you guys and the train workers and the other folks who are actually creating value.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Every day you pick up a story, someone's having more money away, someone's having this, someone's having that. And then you've got workforces out there providing a great service, or used to provide a great service. I still think in most places they do their hardest to provide a good service. And that's not just the postal service, NHS, everybody else. And instead of rewarding those sorts of people with the right reward, they're ignoring them.
Yeah.
Union forever defending our rights. Down with the black legal workers unite. Our brothers and our sisters from many far off lands. There is power in a union. There is power in a union. Thanks.